So, it's been quite a while since I've last done a video here in the studio, and I'm really excited for today's because we're going to actually be building another PCB keyboard. You already saw the title, it's ScottoFrog PCB Edition, but this is kind of the evolution of the original ScottoFrog Handwired Edition, and the reason I say that is, well, it's the same exact board, just in a PCB version, but the ScottoFrog has been my actual most popular commission board that I built because it has really unique uses. It's a full single-handed keyboard, or you can build it as just a macro pad. I specifically use mine as a gaming macro pad, but a lot of the people that commission me to build it have, say, accessibility needs. So say people with partial paralysis, only one limb, and it allows them to use like a full keyboard with just one hand. So it's pretty cool to do that. Now this is kind of an adaptation of the original Frogpad, which was basically the same layout as this, and that was discontinued years ago. So a lot of people aren't able to get those, or you can just get them on eBay at marked up prices. So it's kind of the evolution of that, or the adaptation that I came up with to kind of keep that going, because the layout is very, very good. But with that, before we jump into the video, I do have to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, which is of course Next PCB. They have really good prices and the best quality PCBs I've ever gotten from any of the manufacturers I've ever used, but they also have really robust parts sourcing, which is another major thing I've used, specifically on my last PCB, the Scotto Katana, where basically you just tell them the part you need and they'll find it for you instead of having to give like parts numbers or specific links and stuff. I mean, you can do that if you want, but it was really easy. I just said, I need these parts, and they're like, oh, here you go. They found them, gave them to me. It worked out great. I'll link them down below if you want to check them out. I highly recommend them for any PCB manufacturer you need. And with that, let's jump in and get started on the build. So this here is the PCB kit, and I mentioned PCB kit because, yet again, with my PCB builds, all this will be available on my store if you want to pick one up for yourself, so link down below if you want to. But I'm just going to take the other parts and just put them off to the side for now, because what I want to talk about is the PCB here, of course. Now, this was manufactured by Next PCB yet again. Looks really, really nice. I like the glossy silk screen, a little bit better than the matte black that I've done before, so I'm going to be doing the glossy one. I think it just looks a little more premium. But this is the top of the PCB. It will sit in the case like that, and then this is the bottom. Now the main thing here that pops out to you first probably is the section here for the controller. Now this is something I've actually toyed around with in the past. I think specifically on the Scotto slant, I have a live stream on my channel, but this is kind of a reverse mounted controller here, specifically with this, which is an RP2040. Very small controller, has a little RGB LED on it, but basically we'll take this and we'll sock it on here where it can kind of get really, really low profile. So with that, I'm going to put the controller over here, and I want to talk about the other thing on here that I think a lot of people won't actually like, and that is that we're using SOD123 surface mount diodes here. Now the reason for that is that they're small enough where I can kind of do things with the layout a little bit easier, but also I can kind of like put them in that little spot between the switch and the pin here, so it can kind of just keep everything like really compact. They're not that hard to solder. I'll pop up a short I did that shows how to actually solder them. They're just a little bit intimidating your first time doing them. And the other decision is more of a cost cutting measure here to kind of keep the price of the PCB down. So I did do on here some solder switches instead of hot swap. The other decision for that too is that if we look here with the controller, it'd be hard to get kind of a hot swap on there, so I'd have to have like a hybrid thing where maybe this one would be solder, then the rest would be hot swap. So I just decided that it makes sense. I'm the hand wiring guy, it's a cost cutting measure, just put on the solder switches there. Now if we flip this over, we of course have the top of the PCB, so this is how it'll sit in the case. We do use some screw-in stabilizers here, and that's basically all there is to this. There really isn't much to the PCB other than to put it down this way right now. We're going to grab these here. These are the SOD123 diodes that the kit will come with, and if you could see, it might be really hard to see there because they're really, really tiny. There's a white line on them, and basically all you want to do is just like any other diode, you align that white line with the white line indicator on the PCB. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm going to solder the diodes on. But after that, all we have to do is just kind of put these little sockets on and solder the controller, but I'll talk about that in a moment. I'm just going to do the diodes now. So there are the diodes on the PCB, and what you can see is that it's actually really, really messy right now. And the reason for that is I was actually using a flux pen. So if I grab this over here, this is a flux pen. I highly recommend one of these for surface mount stuff. It just makes it a lot easier. It kind of makes the pads a little cleaner, makes solder flow a little better. I'll link it down below if you want to pick one of these up. But you can just kind of clean that off if you wanted to with some isopropyl alcohol on a toothbrush or a Q-tip. I don't normally bother doing that because it's going in a case anyway, so you're not going to really see that. But at this point, what we're ready to do actually is the only other step for this board is I'm going to put this down. I'm going to grab these, which are just the pre-cut little socket headers there. And the thing I want to mention about these, if you look on them, you see it has this thinner part and then there's this fatter part down below. Normally what would happen with these is that they would actually kind of sit about like that on the PCB. But what I was able to do inside of Keycaps when I designed this is that I actually made these a little bit bigger. So we pop this in, you'll see it sits completely flush with the PCB like so. The same with the other one, if I can kind of get that in. And then if I grab the little RP2040 and sit it on top, you'll see that it sits perfectly like such. Now, what you're probably wondering is how exactly we're going to socket this, because normally there's another half to this. There's a male and a female half. But what we're going to actually do is we're going to grab the 24 gauge copper wire that comes with the kit. And then also we're going to grab the Captain tape here. So we're going to actually solder these on first, and then we're going to put the Captain tape over the pins there, just so that the solder, when you solder the wire on, doesn't flow through, and then we'll just be able to socket this. So I'm going to actually go through, I'm going to do these sockets first, and that'll show the process with the Captain tape so you get an idea of that. So there are the sockets done, and I want to make a very important note here that you want to make sure that the pins are soldered to the top side of the PCB, so the socket should be facing the side with the diode. So just like that, if you do it reverse, you won't be able to complete it, and it will be really hard to get these off. But at this point, what we're going to do is we're just going to take this, put it down, we're going to grab our little Captain tape here, we're going to peel one of these off, and then we're going to put it onto the sockets. You want to kind of get it as far over as you can so the controller can sit down in there. We'll do the same on the other side with this one, just leaving a little bit of space, make sure it's on there. And then we're going to grab our controller, which yet again, this is just an RP2040. That's the controller there. It has a little RGB LED there, USB-C. I love these little controllers, but we'll take this, and this controller, because of how it is, allows us to do this, where we put it on there, and it will allow us to get a very low profile. Now, the reason we're using the Captain tape here is it will basically prevent any solder from flowing from the top into the sockets and kind of binding the two parts together. But what we're going to do next is take the 24 gauge copper wire here. We're basically going to just push it through each one of these, and then we're going to clip it flush to the actual part there. So if I do one right now really quick, I'll just take this and kind of push it in. You'll hear it kind of click in, and then I'll grab my clipper over here. We'll just cut it kind of flush like so. These clippers are a little dull, but what you can see is that we then get that. Basically, you're going to solder that piece there. You're going to make sure it's as flush as possible, and you're going to do that for every single pin. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do that now. So there's the controller soldered to the PCB, and before we actually remove this from the sockets, I wanted to give a tip that I should have gave before soldering, where if I actually take this, I put it down here, and I grab my copper wire over here that we had, I recommend taking this and kind of cutting it at an angle first, like so, to kind of make a essentially needle here. What we're going to do is take this, and you can kind of just poke it through each one of the holes on the sockets there. It makes it a lot easier to kind of get the copper in. But once you do that, once you get this all soldered, what we're going to do to actually remove this is we're going to put it down. We're going to grab a tweezer here, and you're just going to want to very gently put that underneath and kind of just start levering it up right on the edge of the controller here. You want to be careful not to damage anything underneath, but you're going to kind of just do that back and forth on both sides. So just gently get that under there and just kind of lever it up. You can be a little bit rough with this, but you don't want to be too rough. Yet again, you don't want to damage the components, but it will be kind of really stuck in there. So you just have to kind of carefully begin levering it up until you start to get some space like that. And then what you can do is kind of hold leverage on here and then start really prying it up on the back. And eventually it will kind of pop where they're all sitting like so. And you can just grab it on both edges and just lift right up. And sometimes the tape will come with it, but you just take that off. And then what you have here is a nicely socketed little controller there. If one of these does bend, so if you pull it out and maybe it looks like that, all you do is you can kind of just push it back into place. Just keep in mind that it is metal here. If you bend it too many times, it might break off and you have to resolder one, but not a big deal if that does happen. But at this point, this can kind of not go back in there yet. This is important. Don't put that back in yet because we have to actually solder the switches on. But the first step before that is putting the little stabilizers on. So we have the stabilizer here. These are some Duroc V3 PCB mount ones, which basically will take these and just pop them in. I'm not doing any mods to these because honestly, I'm lazy and I don't feel like doing any mods. We're just gonna pop these into the board and then we can talk about getting the rest of it assembled and we'll almost have a completed board here. So there are the stabilizers on the PCB, and this is pretty typical of most builds where you put the stabilizers on and then you solder the switches. But for my PCB builds normally in particular,
so yeah, the plate looks perfectly fine just like this.
But I'm just going to go through now and I'm going to actually just put the standoffs on and then we can talk about the switches after. So there are the standoffs on the board there, as you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down. I'm going to grab the plate over here, and then I'm going to grab my switches, which are some Echo Creamy Yellow Pro V5s that are pre-lubed. Thanks to Echo for sending these out to me. They always send me switches whenever I ask. I actually have a massive stack of them over there because they kind of got lost in shipping, and then they sent me a bunch of other ones. So I have like 400 Echo switches right now, which is awesome. I have a lot for builds, but I'm going to be using these. They're just a linear switch. I'm going to go through, I'm going to pop those into the plate, and then I'm going to solder it to it, and then we'll have a probably fully functional board if everything went to plan. So I'm going to go through and do that now. So there's all the switches on the board here. They're all nicely soldered to it, and they feel really, really good. I'm actually really excited to use these because I don't use this as a single-handed keyboard. I use it as just a gaming macro pad, and these feel really, really nice. So I'm kind of excited to do that. But at this point, what we can actually do is we can take this, flip it over, put it down, and remember that you have to solder this switch. So if you miss this one, make sure you get this one. But we can grab our controller. What I recommend doing right now is flashing the firmware to it first because it's a little bit hard to do once it's on here if it's your first time flashing it. Once you flash it, you can actually just hold this top left button and plug it in, and we'll get it into bootloader. But until you have a firmware on it, it's a little bit hard. So what you're going to do is just grab your controller. You're going to hold this button, the boot button on it, and plug it into your computer. It will pop up as a drive on there, and then you'll have 4 different firmwares to choose from. There'll be a default and a vial version, which are basically the same exact layout. The only difference being one doesn't have vial support, the other one does. And then there's a left and a right variant. What I actually flashed on this for now is the left variant of the single-handed keyboard layout. And we're just going to take this and put it on here. And remember, make sure the firmware is on before doing this, otherwise you just have to pop it out and do it all over again. But we'll pop that on, and then what we can do is actually just plug it in and test. I already did, everything is working on this. And at this point, we can just assemble it into the case. So I'm just gonna grab the little case over here. I'm gonna go through and just assemble that now. So there it is in the case with the switches there. The bottom of the case looks nice. We have some rubber feet on it. And something I do with these up top, and this I'm noticing while I'm looking at my monitor, this is white, so it's kind of really bright on it. I don't know if it's gonna be super bright for you and you can see, but right here what we have is a little recessed section that allows us to get basically a USB-C in there. And since it's bigger, it can kind of go through instead of having to poke the controller out. Just something I kind of do with these. It makes it a little bit easier to be more compatible with more USB-C cables. But I'm going to put this down now. And I'm going to grab this baggie over here, which is what I've been waiting to show you pretty much this entire video. These are the keycaps, which also will be available on the shop. Or you can just download the file and print it yourself if you have a Bamboo. But basically what they are my ScottoCaps flat profile. So they are flat keycaps. It's a little bit weird to get used to, but they're not that bad once you do get used to it. And they have the legends on them. So this one's pretty typical of what you'd expect from my boards. It's just a typical 1 color or 2 color keycap, but this here has 3 different colors and also 4 legends on it, which we will talk about when we talk about the Keymap. But basically we have all these, and I can lose that one over there. I'll pick it up in a second. But if I pour these out and take a look, we have all the nice like legends on them. It looks really cool. I'm just gonna actually grab it. This is the black version of it that I already did. They look really, really cool on here. You can kind of see that recession a little bit better. But I'm really happy with how these turned out, and they do have a purpose on them. I mean, it basically tells you the different layers just looking at it right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and pop this onto the board, and then we can actually take a final look at it and start talking about the Keymap and kind of explaining how the single-handed keyboard actually works. So I'm going to go through and pop the keycaps on. So there's the fully assembled board, and I think it looks really, really nice with those keycaps. If I actually put this one off to the side here and then grab the black one, you can see just those keycaps really tie this build together. I think it makes it look really, really nice with those. But what I want to explain at this point is exactly how this Keymap works, because I think what most people are going to be confused about is how it actually works. And it's really, really simple once you understand the core concept of what the Keymap really relies on, which is combos. So what we can actually do is put that one off to the side and grab this one. And basically when we look at this, what we have is our base layer and our symbol layer is what is shown on these legends here. So the black keys are actually what is the primary function, and then the green is what is the secondary function here. So basically, if we just press this F up in the top right here, we're going to get F. If you press that, pretty simple, we'll get F. This is A, R, W, P. This is N, S, Y. Pretty simple to understand. Now, the next thing you have to understand is basically toggling a layer. So if we press the symbol key down here, we're now going to be on the symbol layer, meaning that when we press this, we're going to get semicolon, we'll get question mark here, we'll get ampersand here, we'll get star here. Pretty simple to understand. And then to get back to the main layer, we just press this, we're back to the main layer now. Now, in order to get those secondary functions, so these green keys down below, we have to do what's called comboing. So if we want to actually get tab up here, we're going to use our combo key, which is space over here, and we're going to just press them at the exact same time. There is a little bit leeway in there. I believe I have it set to about 135 milliseconds. So as long as they're pressed together within about 135 milliseconds, they will actuate as the secondary. So that's how we get tab. If we press this one over here, we'll get J. This one's M, L, Q over there. Now the same thing is true if we go to our symbol layer. So if we press symbol, we're now on the symbol layer. So if we press it here, we'll get the right side, which is the plus. We'll get equal here. We'll get a hashtag there. We'll get the caret here. We'll get the right angle bracket. It's just really a lot about working with it and kind of building the muscle memory. I know that a lot of people that actually do type on these, a bunch of people that have commissioned them from me say they're about 60 to 70 words per minute. So it's just like any other keyboard. You had to work at it and eventually you will get up to speed to do it. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, remember, we are on the symbol layer right now. I know it's kind of just, I'm saying what we're on right now, but if we press symbol again, we're now on the main layer. If we want to do numbers, we can press number right here, and then basically get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 0 is either here or here. It's on one side of it, but that's how you get numbers. And then yet again, you kind of go back, and now we're on the main layer. The last thing too is you're probably wondering, how do you do like backspace? Well, first of all, enter is right here. So you just press that, you get enter, and then of course shift is over here. I believe if you combo like that, you'll get a caps lock on here, but most of the time you're just going to be doing like shift like normal. But the only other one is kind of backspace, and I believe that is number and U will give you backspace, and I think this one is forward delete. So like say you type F, right? And you want to delete, you just go like that and it will delete it. I don't think there's much else to say in this video. I'm not going to do a typing test because I'm honestly really slow on this, probably about like 4 words per minute. So I'm not going to try doing a typing test here. But with that, I do have to give another massive shout out to Next PCB for sponsoring this. I mean, I think they came out really good. I'm really happy with the PCBs I got from them. I think they look really nice. So I'm really happy with those. And with that, I don't have much else to say here other than if you did enjoy, comment, rate, subscribe as usual, and I'll see you next time.